In the course of researching this book, I discovered a nugget of information that tickled me pink. I was reading Antonio Gramsci, a founder of the Italian Communist Party and a very bad man. Gramsci isn't as well known as the mid-20th century cadre of Frankfurt School Marxist, or the original German Marxists like Karl Marx or Friedrich Engels. But it could be argued that his influence has eclipsed his more notorious peers in the present day. Gramsci was a Marxist in fascist Italy in the 1920s and 1930s, whose outspoken criticism of the fascist dictator Benito Mussolini landed him in prison. While imprisoned, the bespectacled Gramsci transcribed his political theory into notebooks smuggled into his prison cell that were later published after his death in the aptly named Prison Notebooks. Gramsci's theory of cultural hegemony is what we're currently seeing play out in our nation as the Marxists seek to subvert our cultural institutions in order to topple our government. In fact, Gramsci's pivotal contribution to Marxist ideology brought an otherwise dying 20th century Marxism back to life in the 21st century. Marx and Engels argued that the working class, the proletariat, was economically oppressed by the ruling class, the capitalist bourgeoisie. Their Communist Manifesto called for the proletariat to revolt against the bourgeoisie and establish a new system of worldwide government. In the Communist Manifesto, Marx and Engels wrote, "The proletariat will use its political supremacy to wrest, by degree, all capital from the bourgeoisie, to centralize all instruments of production in the hands of the state, that is, of the proletariat organized as the ruling class." They sought to effect the radical assault on capitalism and society via violent revolution. If the proletariat is compelled, by means of a revolution, it makes itself the ruling class and, as such, sweeps away by force the old conditions of production. Then it will have swept away the conditions for the existence of class antagonisms and of classes generally, in place of the old bourgeois society, with its classes and class antagonisms. We shall have an association in which the free development of each is the condition for the free development of all. In a nutshell, Marx and Engels sought, via violent uprisings across the entire planet, to eliminate all class structures and capitalist economic systems and develop a utopian society in which human freedom and political liberty would be erased in favor of collectivist communism. However, Antonio Gramsci recognized that Karl Marx's plan for a worker-led revolution to overthrow the ruling class wasn't going to happen. The proletariat wasn't going to revolt against the bourgeoisie, no matter how abused Marx told them they were. The reason, Gramsci posited, was because the workers were too comfortable surrounded by their cultural institutions that would be upset by a Marxist revolution. Gramsci contended that as long as the proletariat adhered to the belief system and values of the ruling class, such as nuclear families, a capitalist economic system, religious belief in God, and the patriotic values that protect a nation-state from within, Marx's revolution was dead on arrival. Gramsci was right. Instead of a mere workers' revolt, Gramsci suggested that Marxist theory needed a new vanguard. To create a new vanguard required re-education of the proletariat. This, Gramsci believed, would be the first step in tearing down the cultural norms and subverting the cultural institutions on which the ruling class relied. Once that was achieved, the proletariat would no longer be too comfortable to stage a revolution against the capitalist ruling class. The familiarity of Gramsci's theory of cultural hegemony is striking. What is happening within our own nation? We watch as the radical left assaults the family, our free market economy, religion, and people of faith, our national sovereignty, and even our patriotic American values. This aligns perfectly with Gramsci's theories. The ultimate goal of the Marxists is to topple democracy and capitalism and impose communism. The new Marxists understand that in order to topple capitalism and limited government, they first must destroy the cultural institutions on which people rely. This new strategy was spawned by Antonio Gramsci.